Yeww. Stuart, were you my first podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
It was about, Dave and I were talking, that was about a year ago.
That's crazy.
But I thought we were coming in and, you know, just running through a podcast just to check the videos and the sounds, and it became the first podcast. And
no doubt.
you know, Dave was saying we had the different microphones. I think you were running GoPros for video.
Yeah, I was. And, you know, we've evolved since then.
Yeah,
We've got a whole studio.
I know, there's like 25 cameras
cruising.
pointing at us.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, the people want it. So we
Yeah.
give it to them.
They're like seeing 6 foot something people sitting on a small couch, but it's comfortable.
Is that all right for you, dude?
No, I'm comfortable.
You are?
I am.
It's a good couch,
For
man.
about an
We
hour.
moved it in for
Yeah.
about 1 hour.
That'll
Yeah,
be
we're
good.
good with that.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad because we're going to have this as an anniversary episode.
Okay. One a year, right?
Anyway,
In 12 months.
yeah, we've talked to some rad folks, man.
Yeah.
Super, super rad folks.
I've watched many of them, not all of them, and I feel like I have a couple to catch up on.
It's been fun. And I'm really actually happy that you agreed to come and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we'd mentioned it a while ago, but I think it was yesterday. You were like, you want to do the podcast tomorrow? I'm like, sure, let's do it.
So you'll be the first person that's been on the show twice.
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm stoked. Well, you're my best friend.
Yeah.
And we talk
Yeah.
about pretty much everything under the sun.
Usually once we've caught 2 or 3 waves and we've settled into the ocean,
no doubt.
then we talk a little more. Yeah.
No doubt. Oh, the waves today.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I rode my bike down the hill as I usually do, and I surfed at the spot.
Yeah.
I actually ran into one of our guys that shoots here, John Wayne Freeman, out in the water. He's kind of this hilarious local comedian, dude. He cracks me up, dude. He's a riot, man. He's a riot. But yeah, surf was good today. How are the family back home?
Good. I feel like we talk a few times a week typically, but it's been a few weeks. I think everything in England started to open up. So my mum and dad are so happy that they can get out and visit their friends and have dinner with them in the back garden. And they've been busier. So I felt like that burden of being at home for so long has lifted. It was definitely a lot stricter in England than what we can appreciate what we went through here. But so yeah, I haven't spoken to them much this last week or two, but we should talk a lot about them tonight because that's the way they'll listen. I'm like, hey, I was talking shit about you guys in the podcast.
Man. So what does it feel like over there right now in England for everybody? Kind of the cult. Oh, I mean, what's the culture of the country?
Yeah, I can only talk to my experience from, talking to my friends and family, but it seems a little bit more at ease and a relief that they can actually get out. You know, my twin sister and Henry have kids, and my friends Barnsley and Laura in London. You know, it's like, it's not just being home with themselves as, you know, we're adults without children.
Yeah.
But I think that sense of freedom where they can actually get out and explore and have more fun as a family. So yeah, lots more family pics and pics of the kids are coming through on WhatsApp.
So there's a lot of children. There's a lot of kid stuff happening right now at home.
Nearly everyone I know at home has kids. And most of my friends here don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a reason behind that, but
Well, it's probably because you don't have kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the circle.
Hanging around with people with kids it's like impossible to find time with them.
Yeah.
I've lost all my friends that have kids, pretty much.
Yeah.
To the kid game.
Yeah.
Man.
I also get, like, I enjoy time with kids, but that's
You get
part
a
of my
ton of it.
job.
Yeah.
And then I like coming home to like a golden retriever and no kids.
No
too,
doubt.
so,
Yeah. Man, so is a good life out here in California. So different from England, I assume.
Well, I think about that a lot. But growing up in England, I was a child then. I was a kid then.
Yeah.
And you're in that bubble of, you know, going to school, and I felt like my identity was around being good at playing soccer, and other kids would recognize that Gary Moore and myself were 2 of the better players at elementary school. So we were the ones picking teams.
Oh, we're all the way back to elementary.
Dude,
I love it, dude.
We weren't allowed to be on the same team for a while. And then I thought that was very important for me, is to be good at soccer would help me in society with friends and everything like that. So, you know, in central England, there wasn't much more in my vision to pursue than being good at football, soccer, or then rugby or swimming or something like that. And to tie that back into where we are now and having the ocean and the beach as a playground,
So different.
it wasn't even an idea in my mind until Baywatch hit television. Like, what is this golden, sandy, beautiful, and everybody's beautiful? Is this reality?
I played a little football.
Yeah.
It was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
We were cruising, man.
Yeah.
All my friends were happy. We were just playing ball. We were competitive. Who was the fastest? They called me Cheeto whenever I was in elementary school because I was so fast.
I can imagine you were fast.
I was so fast, dude. Yeah. I was proud of that.
For me, like reflecting back on that now, and maybe, partly why I became a physical educator is the coaches and the teammates. I felt like that was my arena where I learned to communicate, where I could learn to express myself.
Yeah.
I'm not a great dancer, but for me, moving with skill and flow and purpose in that game of football was my way of dancing.
Yeah.
And it was,
For sure.
I feel like that's that sense of getting better at something.
Yeah. I didn't dance much whenever I was young. I guess whenever I was young, I was just playing soccer.
Yeah.
Actually, at that age, elementary school.
Yeah.
And boxing a bit
Yeah.
and shooting a slingshot in the yard. You know what I'm saying? Running around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But playing soccer.
Yeah.
What was home life like? So that's soccer. That's what you were thinking of pretty much all the time. You would live, breathe soccer.
Yeah. Like when I'm in the classroom, I was wanting to play outside.
Sure.
Just to be outside rather
Same.
than sit down, listen, be quiet. In the classroom, I'm not so good at that.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
I would definitely prefer to be outside and skip school a lot just to, run amok in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I think I was kept on a pretty short leash as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like dad was working 12, 14-hour days. And I think that became part of that identity too of, you work hard, you're providing for your family. I think we were pretty young when my mom went back to work part-time, but that's once we got back into school. And my sister Louise, we're twins, we're 3 minutes apart. There's quite a few different dynamics going up as a twin that I wouldn't understand what it's like to have an older or younger sibling, although Louise was about 6 inches taller than me through to middle school, which is quite embarrassing because people would remind me that every day. And I'd be like, I'm 3 minutes older. I'm the older brother.
You are the older brother. 3 minutes, dude. A lot of emotions can happen in 3 minutes. I just wonder what your mother was thinking in that 3 minute period, as a whole nother child is exiting the building.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they knew we were back then, 1982, they knew there was two, but they didn't know the gender of the sex of the babies. They just assumed that the one in the second position was going to be a boy because it had big feet and it kicked a lot. So when I came out,
was Louise.
I came out quiet, and they were like hitting me to make me, open my lungs and breathe. But I just came out like silent. And then Louise came out like kicking and screaming.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. So it's a guessing game in the beginning back then on which one's the boy or the girl in a biological twin situation.
Yeah, I don't know whether there was testing for knowing that, or they didn't find that out.
I wonder if they knew that both
two.
of them were a male and a female, or if it was just two babies.
Yeah. Well, we've had that conversation where, like, if it was two girls, what the names would have been. If it was two boys,
So they must not have known then.
Yeah, I think
that's so interesting.
Yeah,
that's so interesting. Yeah. And what we were talking about before is like, man, to live the life you were living in England, playing soccer. But what happened after that? And come on, there was a big stretch between England and coming here to San Diego.
Yeah,
that's like,
a lot happened. I felt like by the time of 18, I wanted to. We were fortunate enough where mum and dad every few years would save up some money so we could go on a vacation. So we went around California when I was about 14 years old. We went around Vancouver, BC area at some point. We went to Disney World, Florida a couple times when we were 9 and 11 years old. And we used to go to this amazing island between France and England in the English Channel. And the name of the island is Jersey. Mm-hmm. I'm explaining it in that way because most of my friends here are like Jersey, like New Jersey.
Yeah.
And my godparents lived there, Dave and Sue, and this island is 9 miles east to west, 5 miles north south. And I think we went there about 15 to 20 times before we were 15 years old.
Dang.
And my dad lived there for a while. He was a bartender there when he was, I think, in his early 20s.
Your dad was bartending on an island that was how many miles wide?
5 by 9.
5 by 9.
40 mile an hour speed limit.
How old was he then?
I think like late teens, early 20s.
Bro, I bet he was just
running amok.
Running amok then, dude.
Yeah.
I bet that sounds awesome.
I asked my dad a few months ago, I was like, hey, Dad, when was the last time you didn't drink alcohol for, I don't know, like a month? And he was like, oh, I don't know, Stu, maybe, I was like, maybe 14 years old. No, wait, 13.
So they started drinking early.
Yeah, I think that was part of our culture growing up.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
But they weren't drunks.
Legal.
They're just running amok.
Yeah, I mean, boozy, a little drunk from time to time, but not drinking every day.
Yeah, yeah.
But, the legal age is 18. So, most of our friends and us and ourselves in high school were trying to get into the nightclub at like 16 years old. But yeah, different culture. But then after, at the age of 18, well, actually at the age of 16, we sit all of our exams. And if you do well, you stay in school through 17 and 18 and you pick 3 subjects to take as what's called A-levels. And if you don't do well at 16, in your exams, which is standardized testing, which I work in education, but I'm kind of more opposed to standardized testing.
Yeah, of course. We've all been through the stupid standardized testing, like riffraff.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a system that is not a proven system that works, but it does standardize humans.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we needed whenever we had trade jobs, which we still need, but it's standardized so that people can work in standardized factories and standardized roles and have a standardized hierarchy and a standardized system.
Yeah.
Because why? Because it works to make a few handful of people really, really wealthy.
Yeah, I would love to work to move away from that and more project-based learning and just taking the student as an individual rather than putting them kind of on a factory line and say, hey, this is the class of 2020.
Totally.
And put them in the box.
Well, that's some really specialized learning. And I think that's really the future. And I don't think it should be the future for only really wealthy people.
Yeah.
I think that the education and insight and experience of being with the people that are around you and what you take away from that, the energy, the culture, the way that you address problems, the way that you address happiness and love and thankfulness and forgiveness and all the things that when you witness as a child how people respond to these feelings that we're innately going to have, but we don't know how to manage until we see a great example of one in front of us. Like, I just want to be super clear. It's so important what teachers do.
Yeah.
And it's so critical that we're self-aware enough to say, gosh, I know how that might have affected these kids and that might not have been the best thing to do. Or, hey, I just saw a really great opportunity to affect some kids in a really positive way.
Yeah.
And that's a learning, and I'm going to continue to learn and teach myself on how, like, the best possible ways to do that. And maybe standardized learning and standardized testing isn't what's actually best.
Yeah. Well, I feel like educators that I work with, they're amazing. And what I see in them is that they are masterful at designing lessons from the very second the first kid walks into your classroom to the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they're masterful at designing these lessons where there's a flow where that you can get engagement out of the children. But when you are standardized testing, we're moving our educators more to teaching students how to pass a test rather than relate more in a connected and deeper way with the curriculum. We're like, this is how we pass the test. But moving on from like sitting those 15 or 16 exams at the age of 16, my parents gave us a monetary reward system to do well. And I was like, oh, if I actually try a bit harder, I can make some money. I'm like, okay, that kind of works for me at 16 years old, because I wasn't doing as well as my twin sister. So that was part of that dynamic growing up too, was going to my parents would crack up.
Did she get paid as well, or you were the only one getting paid if you did better?
No, it was the same reward system because we're twins, and I feel like my parents did do a great job. I say great, not fantastic, but great job in keeping things equal, because my sister got the bigger bedroom when I was like 10 years old. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. She got the bigger bedroom.
But hold on a second. You're talking about, you're like 6'6", first of all, right? So let's just put things in perspective, right? So you're 10, you're double digits years old, and your sister,
I like that you want to get
your
into
your younger sister, right, has the bigger bedroom.
Oh, I remember this clearly.
Because, okay, I don't understand it. Well, she's younger. You're the older brother. Like, I think, were they just partial to her? Are you okay?
Yeah,
is everything okay?
She's their favorite for sure. We have a dining room, and we had our own seat at this 4-seater table basically, and we had dinner together as a family nearly every night from my memory of like middle school, high school, before we went to college. And I appreciate that a lot now, thinking back into, we'd have those conversations around the meal table, and we had that time together. It was all 4 of us sitting down face to face. Sometimes the TV was on, but that was behind me. So, we'd want to put on Friends or The Simpsons, and my dad would be like, turn that rubbish off, put on the news or something. But at that dinner table, they were like, Stuart, Louise, I think it's time that you had your own bedrooms.
I find it so amazing on the intricate details that you remember about this experience. You remember it like it was yesterday. Is this trauma for you?
And my sister was like, I'll take the new one. And I was like, and they were like, okay, that sounds good. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. She said, just because she said okay first, that she gets the big bedroom. But
okay, she beat you to the punch.
She did.
You beat her out the...
I probably wasn't listening.
You beat her. You were older.
Yeah.
You beat her once. You got to let the gal win.
I thought I was probably in trouble for something, and like mom and dad want to talk about something at the dinner table. I'm like already switched off, and my
it's just a wet
like,
bedroom.
Yeah. But anyway,
so you were talking about testing, standardized testing, soccer.
And if I didn't do well, my dad had lined up a brick lane job for me with his builder buddy.
Oh, nice.
So that was my incentive to
not be a bricklayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Was to do a little better in school and really focus on the math piece, and did well enough to choose 3 subjects going into A levels, where I did sports science, geography, and biology, which was human and plant biology.
Nice.
And then ended up...
And you're how old at this time?
17, 18.
17, 18 years old. What do you look like?
What
do you look like at 17 or 18? Stuart champion. Yeah. You're 6'6" now. What were you, like 6'2", 6'3"?
I don't even know if I was that tall. I think I went through puberty really late, even into college.
Yeah.
So
I was under 6 feet until I was sophomore, junior in college, and then I grew like a couple of inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I was playing for the school football team, playing for the town football team. I think I went through like Burbage 84 and Nuneaton, even played for a team in like Tamworth area in the Warwickshire League.
Semi-pro league.
I would say it's semi-pro. It was like under 18s.
Under 18s, got it.
And I was playing rugby for the school. I was swimming for the town, but our school team entered the British Nationals for 4 years in a row, where we were one of the fastest teams in the nation for 4 years.
Dang.
Yeah, we always won our counties, our regionals and counties, and then
how do you measure the fastest team?
So you have the medley relay in swimming, and you have the freestyle relay. So there's 4 people in a team, just like there is in the Olympics, and you swim. The distance then was 50 meters. So if you have a 25-meter pool, you're doing what's called short course. You're going down and back. 50-meter pool is what you see in the Olympics, which is a long course pool. And the private schools had the long course pools there. So we were basically a normal public school racing against a lot of private schools.
Got it.
And we would beat most of them.
Well-groomed people.
But we had some great swimmers on the team.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so you're swimming and playing soccer and working school out and work out, so that you don't have to be a bricklayer.
Yeah.
At your dad's place, your dad's buddy spot.
And then going into college, I'm not sure the system here as well. but you typically pick 6 universities and travel around them and see
if you're rich. You just go to it if you're rich.
I did see the college admission scandal documentary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, no, if you can get into that many schools or you have that many options to go to schools, then you have a lot of money or you're willing to put a ton of money on the liability and you're, and you're in debt forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, college is like $40,000 to $60,000 to go to a good school, and some of them are that much a year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The schools I was looking at were that much, and I was not a good student, like from an academics perspective, and those were still schools that were very expensive.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't go to a private, really expensive school. They didn't really teach me much in college.
You'd still be paying for it now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went to a great school. But I just, man, I'm glad I didn't pay for a really good education.
Yeah.
I'd had to been a lot better student, you know what I mean, to make sense of paying that kind of money. And then, boy, did I walk away with some bullshit for the most part, right?
That seems like a lot of pressure at that age. I mean, I think again, going back to football, I applied to 6 universities in England, and then they let you know whether they have accepted you or not. So my sister applied to 6 and she was accepted to them all. But I think we were in this position where her, even more so than I, she was performing a lot better academically, but she was also a great athlete, one of the best athletes in our high school, male or female. And in England, they don't offer you like a full ride scholarship where they pay your tuition because you're going to play sports. There's no monetary reward. It's more of it's almost like an academic reward where they offer you basically what's called an unconditional offer. If I got 2 E's in my 3 or 4 exams at A level, then they were going to accept me into that college. So they just lowered the standard for me to get in, which doesn't quite make sense academically, because now I can just cruise through high school. And that maybe doesn't prepare you best for college. But I think I did okay at my A levels. Louise did great. She went to the University of Wales Institute, Cardiff being the capital of Wales, the country, right? Yeah. And I went to University of Gloucestershire, and we both studied like sports and exercise sciences at 2 different colleges. Wow. But it was like an easier route in because we were good at the sports.
How big are these schools? How many students?
Yeah, I don't know. I think hers was a lot bigger than mine. I think mine was
5,000, 30,000, 40,000.
I think Cheltenham's like 10 to 15,000.
10 to 15. Yeah.
And Cardiff's maybe double that.
Wow.
Yeah, good schools to play sports at too.
And so you played sports every year. What did you do summer? Do you get summers off in this education path, or you get to choose?
Yeah, so Louise played netball.
You just smirked a little bit whenever I said, "Do you get?"
Well, because there's some stories coming up.
Oh boy!
And then I started to swim at college, but my main focus was football, soccer. Played a little bit of rugby in the sevens tournaments and things like that. But yeah, it was mainly football. And
I loved playing rugby, and it was year round for a little while. I played for 2 seasons, and it was just probably the gnarliest sport I've ever played, for sure.
I think more so than football, rugby taught me like discipline.
No doubt.
Respecting the officials. The coaches were like really national class. We actually went on as I graduated high school, went on a 3-week rugby tour around Ontario, Canada, and were hosted by the teams we would play against. These are other high schools.
This was on a really good team then.
It was pretty good. That year we made it to the semifinals at the National Sevens tournament as 18-year-olds in Canada, which was great. But 2 of our friends growing up, Sam Vesti, Ollie Smith, ended up playing for Leicester Tigers.
I met Ollie.
And you met Ollie Jenkins, who was actually, I think, played in the Tigers Youth Academy. But we had some like really, it was a famous school for rugby.
That's awesome.
But
gnarly sport for sure.
I would be amiss if any of my friends listening at home to mention that our soccer team won I don't know what it's called now, like the County Cup. It's like the state championship. I don't know what I'm trying to translate for America, but
the County Cup. Yeah, nice. So in college, you played ball, but you did do summer stuff. What did you do?
So the end of my
Did you travel?
Yeah. Well, the end of my first summer, Louise went to a sports camp in upstate New York. One of her college professors was like, "Hey Lou, I think you'd be really great working at this sports camp that I used to work at." And so my sister spent the summer of 2001 out at this place called Pointer Pines on Brant Lake in the Adirondacks, upstate New York.
Nice.
I spent my summer doing night shifts at my dad's supermarket because I needed to earn some money. I guess at college I was buying girls drinks and my sister was being bought drinks, so she didn't need to work through college so much. But by the time it got to my second summer of college, or our second summer of college, Louise had said, "This sports camp is amazing. There's a boys' sports camp just down the road."
One in New York.
Yeah, here's the director's number. Just send him a message. Let him know you're studying sport and exercise sciences.
And you got into it.
Yeah, I got into it that summer and was invited back and ended up doing 12 summers at Brant Lake
Which
Camp.
is 12 years worth.
Yeah, basically 3 full months every summer.
Teaching kids discipline.
Working with some of the best
working with
physical
it.
educators that from all around the world and the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you spent time in the French Alps as well.
Yeah, so
Skiing
after
a
college,
bit.
it would be like summer season in New York, winter season in the French Alps. Started working for a ski tour operator with my sister. It was actually our first job out of college was together. She graduated from her school.
So you guys spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
You and your sister, you grew up together. You were twins. You guys are connected. I was having this conversation the other day, these crazy stories about twins that don't know that they were twins when they grew up and they're like biologically drawn to each other. They live in the same area. They do the same things. They and they don't even know they're there.
I can't even. Yeah, we had every class together.
Like I was thinking about that on the way that people are connected to each other. For example, if you don't know your parents or you didn't know your sister or you didn't know your brother, for example, right? And then all of a sudden there they are.
Yeah.
Do you think that you feel more biologically connected to that person now having that knowledge, or is it the knowledge of it and the expectation that you need to be drawn to the people that you're biologically connected to that drives you to be connected? Why do you think we're or are we actually more connected to the people we're biologically sharing DNA with?
You just blew my mind.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't have an answer to that. I think that's beautiful the way you said it. And I think there's this energy that, binds us and connects us in a very innate way that I don't even know if any humans are smart enough to fully explain. I know many are trying. I couldn't even imagine not knowing I was a twin and then being reconnected later in life. That's quite powerful. The idea that we're all connected.
Yeah.
Through this energy.
Do you think, yeah, definitely an energy for sure, because I feel very connected to you right now.
Well, our toast
I feel
just
very,
toast.
I'm trying to, that gave me a little tingle. Dude, do you think there's any particulate in your body right now that's not from this planet?
Could that be the thing that humans are actually the aliens to this planet?
No, I'm not thinking about aliens. We're not the alien. There's been rocks bumping into rocks for a long time, man. There's been asteroids and shit. All kinds of things are going down out there. Things are flying around, man. They're hitting the atmosphere, turning into dust, and it lands in a pond, and that pond grows some stuff, and the next thing you know, like, you got some new stuff happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's called gnarly evolution of Earth, the blue planet. That's what's happening.
Yeah. I just feel like we need
Doesn't mean we're aliens.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I've never had the answer of where we came from.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to the same as your twin. Mm-hmm. Do you know, because you come from the parents and it's a lineage thing. You're very connected to her, but it's also, you wouldn't know it another way because you were very connected.
Yeah. I feel we spent an incredible amount of time together thinking back on it now. Now I see, students in school that have a younger or older siblings. They're not in the same classes. Maybe they don't even go to school together. They walk with their own friends or whatever it is. But yeah, we have this connection where Louise and I know how to push each other's buttons in either a negative way or in a funny way. We know how to make each other laugh, but we also knew how to make each other cry. Yeah. We were, you knew when something was up in the room, but that experience you can bring into, relationships.
That's what I mean.
Any form of relationships, when you know that person that you're so connected to in a certain way, when something's up or something, maybe they're processing something and they can't talk about it now because we need to come back to that later once they actually understand within themselves.
Yeah.
Like when I was married for 5 or 6 years to Shasta,
Yeah.
but in that last year, neither of us really were in a space to communicate exactly how we felt or what was going on. But there was definitely a disconnect. And then we ended up having a beautiful conversation about that later on, once we both realized where we were coming from and the positions or our own personal situations or our own personal growth, how we grow over time. But I've got to say that the one thing I really do miss about it is great being out here, and California is an amazing space, but I do miss my mom and dad. I miss my sister, and I have the best brother-in-law, Henry, my niece and nephew, William and Thea. And
They're an amazing group.
hopefully you'll get to see them this summer. I mean, yeah, they're my people.
Yeah.
I have like the funniest aunt and uncle.
And they're still there in England.
Yeah.
How different is it here in the US, man? You've been here how long? So wait, college, French Alps, summer swim, almost pre-Olympic. You guys were on a team that was the fastest.
No, I would say like Simon Hornby, and I think there's this guy, Mark, I can't remember his name, Mark Aldridge, I think. Those guys were some of the fastest at their individual skill, which was like breaststroke, backstroke, or butterfly. I was one of the faster ones at freestyle, but for me, it's like, it's tenths of seconds, right? Like you can get to a certain point, particularly in swimming or sprinting, running, and you could be within 1 second of a certain record.
Totally.
And that's a long distance. That's like years and years in practice. So I felt like once I went to university, I was having so much fun being on the soccer team, where swimming's more of an individual sport. The length of the pool was a little off. I didn't have a great relationship with the coach, and I just kind of was like, this wasn't for me. So I just slowly stepped down. But yeah, at the age of 17 or 18, our team was one of the fastest. But as far as individuals, I don't know how close the other boys ended up getting, but it's several hours of training, most days to get to that next level that
For sure.
that we see on TV now.
It really narrows the spectrum of skill versus next level skill and conditioning.
Yeah.
Right? Like the next level, like you said, that's years worth of conditioning to get to that millisecond of a time faster.
Yeah. The idea of
It's
mastery
incredible.
of something.
It's incredible. Motion and human movement as like quite possibly the most dynamic and capable living organism on planet Earth is incredible for sure. To learn it and condition it in that way, it blows my tiny brain into a million pieces. We've been through so much, even you and I, learning how to surf together and like fighting the gnarly waves of the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, so you're in college. What were you doing in the French Alps? You were swimming, soccer, French Alps. You're an athlete. You're a champ, dude. Stewart champion. Seriously. Bro, what are you talking about? You're doing like all this shit in college.
Yeah.
You're inundated in sports. You're just hyper focused on the physical. Is this right?
Yeah, I made some good connections. And Tom Barnes, one of my best friends that you've met before, he, we were center back for the football team at college to start with, but then he was actually the president of the ski and snowboard club. And I just got into that in high school, going on a few trips to Italy when I was in high school. And so I'd go on the ski trip with the university to the French Alps, fell in love with doing that, and brought my twin sister along through our university trip, and then enjoyed it so much that saved up some money to go again on another ski trip to France. And it just felt like home, being in the mountains, being in these huge, 12, 13,000 foot mountaintops.
There's no
makes you
words.
feel tiny.
There's no words to explain the feeling that you get when I've never been to the Alps, but I mean Utah, Colorado, you get that feeling. It's just unbelievable.
I love that idea and that sense of getting better at something, or mastery. I'm paying a lot of money to go and do these things, but I felt like I was getting better. And during my second year of university,
You are like that. You geek out on that shit. Like you geek out
I
on
like
it.
that feeling of getting better at something, for sure.
For real.
day
Like
on
you
day.
and surf, like you're so technical. You think about even the way you tell stories. It's like it's the intricate details that you're focused on. Like you definitely remember the hyper focused details of the things. It's very interesting, dude. You're weird.
Yeah, I know.
You're freaking bro, you're a weirdo for sure.
In my second year, I got onto the committee with Tom and a few others to help organize and plan the trip. And that's the way, that was the foot into, doing these ski seasons. Was the ski company said, hey, Stu, if you have some free time, we'd love for you to, we'll fly you out to France for free, and you will host this 200 University of like Nottingham Law School who are going on their annual ski trip, and you'll be the representative for our company and resort. So these people would arrive on, these students would arrive on coach buses, like 4 or 5 coach buses of 50 people.
My feet are cold. Yeah.
And
Joshua Tree Blanket Company right here.
Yeah, it's like this.
They're
too.
awesome. Yeah.
And
so, okay.
So anyway, this coach bus would arrive into the French Alps after maybe a 20 to 25 hour journey. And you step on the bus and you say, hey guys, welcome to the trip. Here's your accommodation. Here's your lift ticket. If you need ski lessons or snowboard hire, and you kind of get everybody set up for the next morning, they can hit the mountain and have 6 days of skiing and snowboarding in France.
That sounds amazing.
So in my second...
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're greeting these people?
Yeah.
How many hotties come off this bus? I'm sorry. Not important. Anyway, you get to meet some amazing people that come off of those buses, dude.
Yeah, it's all students, and I'm the same age as them.
That's amazing.
But
I bet you were having a absolute blast.
Yeah, we would ski guide them around the mountains during the daytime. Like you're on your skis or snowboard 6 or 7 hours a day for 6 days.
What's the gnarliest situation you've gotten into in the French Alps? The gnarliest.
More so just free skiing with friends after that job had ended. Ended up doing 3 or 4 ski seasons where I was working in bars and restaurants in France and just speaking French like 80% of my day because I was surrounded by, French people. I enjoyed it too.
And especially with your personality, dude, you absolutely became one of the locals.
Yeah, I was like a golden retriever, just wanting to learn more French. And my French, I felt like, was pretty good by 2007, 2008. I just haven't used it as much recently, but I could still have a good conversation in French. But I'd say the gnarliest situations would be on the mountain with some fresh snow in the backcountry and some snow starting to move around that shouldn't be moving. Yeah. Snow starting to slide down the mountainside. Yeah. So there was a couple where me and a few buddies, like 3 good friends from Australia, we were doing some backcountry in Les Arcs. And the snow, you just hear this like crack, like a pop. And it starts to, it's trying to drag your skis down with it.
Then you make a poop in your pants?
Like poopy pants.
You make a poop?
Yeah.
That would scare the la poop out of me for sure, dude.
After a couple of situations like that, you definitely like take the classes, take the courses. I felt like we were lucky, but I didn't get taken down in the avalanches.
Somebody was looking out for you, bro.
Yeah. Dig skis into a rock and just hold on tight.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
But there was one day I came back down to the bar where I was working, like normal, good as gold. And one of the French local guys, well-known local skier, came in and just came under the bar and gave me a huge hug. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? Like he'd never done that before. That was kind of out of character for him.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, there was an avalanche today and I heard a brother and sister twins died on the mountain today.
Oh,
and he thought it was me, and my twin sister Louise was working at a bar 400 meters away.
Dang.
So our stories like intertwined after the ski tour operator, and she was working at the Red Hot Saloon. I was working at the Before Cafe.
Dang.
And I didn't even hear of this incident on the mountain.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it brings it close to home.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
This was your life, dude. Yeah. This is a crazy, and this was in Europe. All of this, most of your time was in Europe with the exception of the New York sports camp, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you were getting a taste of the US, the French Alps, England, and you're doing this, tag teaming these adventures, this amazing journey, meeting these thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
Influencing these kids through coaching them how to ski and snowboard and making team, lifelong mates through soccer and swim. My dude, you've had a hell of a run at it.
I felt like that was my way of I was surviving, but I was also living and thriving. I was growing. I was getting better at things. And I felt fortunate that I had a chance to travel. But also when you work, when you're traveling, you're embedding yourself into that community. And I felt like, you know, New York and that sports camp is a community of about 600 people during a typical summer. With
That's a large operation,
like
bro.
400 kids and 200 staff.
And that's just the boys camp or boys and girls camp?
That's just the boys camp.
Wow. Okay.
And then but it's a community. It really is a family. It's one family that's owned this camp since I think 1916. They've had, you know, about their 104th, 105th summer coming up. And those guys are like family. Richie Gersten, the main director, is like an American dad to me. He's like a father figure in a different way.
12 years is a long time to spend with someone in a high, like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to be managed at a sports camp, and you have a lot of responsibility in your hands with those kiddos.
Yeah, we were working
they're like a long way away from home.
Those kids are all from the vast majority of them are from the New York City area, like New York City kids, Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, you know, and that sports camp is just such an amazing nurturing place for them to be during their summer rather than being in the city all summer long.
Yeah.
And so the East Coast definitely do it a little differently to here. We might have like a soccer camp for a week or a weekend.
Oh, that's right. Because now you teach here and you see camps and coaching and stuff like that now in your current profession, right? And then you're comparing that to Northeast version of that as well, which is different for sure.
There's not
and
many
in
camps.
England.
Yeah, I'm about to say there's not many camps that are 7 weeks. They used to be 8 weeks, but these kids go for 7 weeks straight. And
it's a long time.
And they see their parents once on visiting day. But it's beautiful. The way they set it up, they like how thoughtful they are with their philosophy towards what's best for a child to grow, like ability group and instruction and different lengths of instruction for different age groups. As you get through to like 15 years old, you've got a lot more freedom, or that freedom comes in choice of things that you like to do, where the younger kids get instruction in everything. But I felt like I learned a lot from that sports camp, and that is the driving force to why I wanted to be a physical education teacher, was Brantley Camp.
Dang. You've had a hell of an experience with the development of kiddos and their skills in mind and confidence.
Yeah. But in my mind, at that time, reflecting back, yeah, I agree with you. But thinking about it, I was just doing something that I felt accepted, that I belonged, that I mattered and I made a difference. Like I was contributing to a community in a positive way. And people were thankful of that, and it felt good. But at the same time, I was choosing to go back because it was just so much fun, and you were meeting people from all over the world. I mean, you've met my friends Danny Bernstein, but I could take a Danny Bernstein and introduce you to...
Danny's an amazing man.
Yeah, I could introduce you to like a dozen people who I see as like owners, directors of that camp that helped not just nurture me, but set the space for everything that happened there.
It's a science, but yet also an epic art to run that show. I can only imagine. It takes a very special kind of human. I saw this is so sad / beautiful. I saw that, I'm putting myself out there right now, the video of you on their advertisement for Brant Lake Camp, and I teared up. I was like, that's my friend. I know him. I'm so proud of him.
I think that was my last summer there, like
That's so
2014.
awesome.
But yeah, those guys do a great job, and I'd love to get back there soon.
I'm sure that you will have the opportunity someday, and I'm sure that it will be in the cards and the stars will align that you get to spend some time there.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. Man, you've experienced a heck of a lot of different cultures and stuff, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder sometimes like what goes on in your tiny little brain.
I know.
And whenever you're processing what's happening here, I mean, you're surfing every day. I grew up in Southeast Texas in the mud of the marsh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we connected somewhere along the way, and somehow we are so different, bro. I didn't grow up like that at all, bro.
Yeah.
Like at all.
I think about this all the time.
What do you think about all the time?
Well, like how we're best friends, but you know, getting to know you over years, it took from my perspective, it took a while to peel back the Logan layers, I like to call it. It's like I might be, more golden retriever and I'll be your friend from day one.
Yeah, for sure.
And you need to get to know
and I'm
Logan.
like, who's this?
And it was that connection of, sitting in the same vehicle as somebody for an hour and a half, driving out to the coast and going, as you mentioned before, bearing the elements of the northwest coastline is not like learning how to surf in San Diego.
No.
And
not only the hikes to go surf, dude. Like Indian Cove, those logs as you're paddling out could take out a car.
Yeah.
You're paddling out through logs and boulders in a cove that's the gnarliest thing that I can ever remember. I remember a guy on a longboard that was like your size, 6'6", and he was like bloody and do you remember what I was talking about that day when my mom's out there? And he's like, yeah, bro, I think his board was broken. And he was like, yeah, dude, I barely got out of it this time. Last time it was worse. And I'm like, bro. And we just ended up paddling out anyway.
Yeah.
I remember that day where that buoy got caught around my arm.
Your mom must have been on the beach that day at Indian Beach.
Bro.
And I didn't know until after that day, that is the closing scene of Point Break. Is that...
What?
The first movie, Keanu Reeves and...
no, you just fucking blew my mind. Hold on a second.
What's the guy from Patrick Swayze? Is that it?
Bro, stop it right now.
The closing scene when they paddle out on the perfect swell is Indian Beach.
No, it's not.
That's where you go.
We've seen that wave. We were there that day.
We had no business in the water that day.
So there was a buoy floating, right? We'll tell this story really quick. Why not? There was a buoy floating in the water, and Stuart and I and my mom go down to Indian Cove, and it's like, what, a 2-hour drive to get out there, basically?
From Portland, yeah.
Yeah. So we drive out there, and this is a trip we've taken many times to this coastline. Not necessarily this break. We had surfed this break before?
I've been there a couple of times, but not on a size.
We had definitely
like that.
surfed, but not a 9-foot day. I think it was something like a 6 to 9 foot swell.
You remember you got caught in that little side pool eddy current on the way out? I think that was going out that day. You were like, do not come over here. And I'm like, well, you're stuck, so I'm definitely not coming your way.
Yeah, I was like, nope, not happening. I'm like, don't come over here, bro.
I'm like, Roger, I'm witnessing what's going on and I'm not coming.
I totally made it out of that current though, bro.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. It's crazy to go through those life experiences with you and see you react and behave and process you went through many relationships. I met your family. We lived right down the hall together. Breakups, new girlfriends, new cars, new motorcycles, crazy shit.
It's just life, just normal
in a
for us.
In a short period of time.
Yeah.
But the way you're processing things is coming from an entirely different foundation of, I wouldn't say values, but an entirely different culture. And I find that so interesting. And I mean, yeah, okay, so what? It's whatever. Like some people mesh, some people get together.
Well, I would say I would go, I think the word values is important there because, my family values from my grandparents through my parents and their families, sets the tone for their expectations upon us. And, you weren't really raised by your parents. You were raised by your grandparents.
And a lot of other people.
And
my aunts.
And did you grow up with siblings?
No. I was an only child being passed around. Like, it's not passed. I don't want to say that. It was just, what was the next best place for Logan?
Yeah.
What was not what he's going through now that might be better and an option? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, not to say that was a bad thing, it made me who I am for sure. And for the record, this is a beautiful way to grow up. I am so fortunate. I am so fortunate to have experienced my beautiful, beautiful Aunt Lenore's life growing up and all of her wonderful friends. It was amazing. And my Aunt Allison that served a huge justice to me growing up and being my solid and always looking out for me, right? My grandparents who were just angels from heaven, just wanting to give and wanting me to grow and challenge the mind and debate about science and politics and the way of the world and keeping me sharp.
Yeah.
Grandpappy was solid, strict, but yet quick and sharp as a tack. And when he smiled, he really meant his smile. Like you knew it when he cracked one.
Yeah.
And when he said, look at that, you always looked because it was something miraculous to be seen.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was this wild, beautiful woman. It was just beautiful the way I was able to be exposed, to so many different ways of being. And I gained an immense respect for everybody's kind of like way. And moving around like that, you get to go to some really fucked up schools. Some really good ones.
Yeah, how many schools did you go to? Like how
11.
Many, how many elementaries?
Elementaries were 1, 2. I went to a Baptist school. I went to a Baptist school and I brought my pocket knife to school one time because it's Texas. And I remember the moment. I was like, Grandpappy, can I have my pocket knife for school today? And he's like, yeah, here it is. And so I brought it to school and I would show it to my friends. Well, they were like a real Baptist school, so they beat my ass, right? And my grandpappy had to sit there watching me get my ass whipped. All right. And then I broke my arm one time and I had a cast on my arm. This little girl came over and kissed me. They beat me again.
Because she kissed you.
I'll never forget that school.
Maybe not.
Don't go to that Baptist school.
That one.
Yeah, don't go to that Baptist school, right? Like, no, man, that's not the way to treat kids. Yeah. So anyway, I got to go to a lot of different schools. Some of them that had thousands of students in a high school. Yeah. And it was good that I played soccer then too, because that was my way to connect and make some friends. I met some gnarly dudes in Dallas, Fort Worth area. Yeah. The Genovese family. Yeah. I played soccer with those dudes. Gnarly dudes. Yeah. Gnarly.
Yeah. They got your back. That's what I appreciate. I mean, you and I know most of these things about each other. We can get into a few, deeper details and let the flow go.
Nobody cares about that.
No, we could. But what I'm saying is, we're just emphasizing the fact that we came from two totally different places, two totally different backgrounds.
Bro, you grew up in fucking England. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that that's part of who you are. But how is that different? What do you think is different about England and the US, man? I don't want to go like down along, but culturally, like what do you think? I've been thinking a lot about why the US is what it is and why it is what it is right now. Yeah. And like what its pillars are that keep us alive or evolving, hopefully, in a better direction. But man, like all this Slayer talk about race and gender and all these wild things and enforcing the acceptance of these things, we're on a good track right now. Our generation, I just can't wait for us to stop hiring really old fuckers as presidents because they are closed-minded. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. These old dudes don't know what they're talking about. They're business people that are used to like traditional ways of thinking. Sorry, I took over the conversation. My bad.
No,
like,
you're good.
Can we just hire a young president that's like smart and open?
Or maybe more. What I'm hearing is someone that's more connected to the generations of people that are going to, help build and grow this country into a better version of itself rather than us being stuck into a perpetual cycle of
negativity, downfall,
and people
murdering the earth.
People with power or people with money and people with money making the decisions rather than allowing other people to do that.
Who votes? What percentage of the population votes? We were a country built on a pillar that everyone had a say and everyone would vote because they believed in it and because they had a say and that all people were equal. Yeah. And it was a conglomerate of like everybody from everywhere. This is a melting pot. It's not going to be perfect. It's impossible to make that perfect. There's so many different beliefs and so many different cultures that come like us, like our relationship. We definitely don't see eye to eye on everything, a lot of things, most things, because we're open. But I don't think like we have such a cultured country of opportunity, endless opportunities. That's the facts. And it was built on principles to thrive and push towards that, right? Openness, open-mindedness.
It's the diversity within us which makes us more unique or more spectacular, because if everybody was a firefighter, there wouldn't be, everything else we need in life. We'd just be good at putting out fires. Like it's the diversity within our education, which we've been narrowing towards being better at math and science, so we can improve our technology and build America to be stronger on an economic platform, because that makes, provides America more wealth and more power on the world stage, rather than being connected to open and world trade, which is not my area of expertise at all. But I feel like for many years we've been in competition against people rather than working and collaborating with. And, growing up in England, I think there's a lot of similar systemic issues within when we're talking about culture and race. But growing up, some things that kind of in stark contrast to here is, oh, I have an injury, I can go see the doctor, and it doesn't cost anything. We were talking about financial debt from college here. America's education system is not close to being the best in the world, but it is the most expensive. And then the healthcare system here is the most expensive. And I know personally from having back surgery nearly 10 years ago, even with insurance being left with a huge sum and, expenses to pay off post-surgery. But in England, we have a social healthcare system, a national healthcare system, where everybody has the right to and the access to free healthcare. But here, it seems like it's a profitable business. And one example that I've talked about a few times that just... I was talking to Kate and Ed. They're in their 70s in Solana Beach, and Ed had the biggest belly laugh. I was telling him about this trouble that I'd been in with the medical system and back surgery, and I've never heard a 70-something-year-old laugh from his belly so loud, because this is ridiculous. When I had back issues, I was living in New York, and I was trying, lidocaine injections, cortisol shots, muscle stimulation,
all the worst
massage therapy, kind of just massage, anything but surgery at that point, because I didn't want to go through surgery. That seemed very invasive, and I wanted to avoid that. So I was trying everything else.
Okay.
But the doctor prescribes you,
you're taking all this stuff,
painkillers, antidepressants, nerve stimulators, all this kind of stuff.
Oh my God.
And then I go back to England, and I ended up having some epidural injections, but I wasn't really prescribed anything else. So the idea here that I was prescribed several prescriptions, right? And Ed was just losing his mind at this point. He's like, you antidepressants? Yeah. Well, of course you're depressed. You're in chronic pain every single day. You can't do any of the sports you enjoy doing. You are beside yourself. You don't even look like... You're the furthest removed from the healthiest version of yourself. Like you don't even want to look in the mirror, and I feel like there's a lot of people in pain, whether that's physical pain, an emotional pain, mental pain.
Oh, for sure, bro.
But we're not changing the systemic and the system to take that away. And that's where I'd like to see is the healing of a nation through sleeping better, knowing how to breathe, exercising, nutrition, restorative farm practices. I just feel like there's so much good we can do on a national level, and that's where I want to see the leadership take us in England and here. I'm passionate about that.
Let's talk about England and its core principle differences real quick.
Well, I haven't lived there for 21 years, so...
No, but like guns. Let's talk about guns.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about guns. Let's talk about violence.
We don't have guns.
But we don't need... So you guys don't have guns.
Yeah,
okay.
not legally.
That's a little different. Yeah, exactly.
I think there's some armed response units in places, but the police force in England, and my grandfather was a police officer, post World War II, the police force voted for no guns time and time again.
And what does England look like?
Also, like walking down the street, you would probably know the name of your local police officers, the bobbies on the beat, because they're walking, they're not behind like armored vehicles, and they don't have guns on their hips. They're more approachable. They're not behind sunglasses and things like that. But the idea of like when
Is
I
it
see
not bright there? Why aren't they wearing sunglasses? Because I think sunglasses are good for their
It's like gray and overcast.
Is it really?
A little in England.
Yeah,
it rains a lot.
Okay, so it's gray and overcast and it rains a lot.
Yeah.
And what does it look like outside of that? So the bobbies. You're walking down the street. You know everybody. This is a small town. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, like Burbage is a village next to the town of Burbage.
What
next
is
to
Burbage?
Hinckley.
It's next to Hinckley.
And then that's close to the cities of Leicester and Coventry and Nottingham, and like in the Midlands.
What does it look like? Are these towns far away from each other? Is it hilly? Is it green?
I feel like the towns kind of, of the suburbs the suburban areas kind of connect, like Burbage and Hinckley is just separated by a train line. And
Like here? Does it look like this?
No.
What's different?
All the buildings are solid brick or so, and not really anything's made out of wood. You walk down the street and there's homes that were built in the 1800s just in your neighborhood, just down the road. There's usually a church with a tower or a church with a steeple and the highest point of each village.
Really?
Just for historical context, built in the 1700s. So windy roads, countryside. So we don't have a block grid system. Even around London, like roads are not squares, and so straight.
Population density, is it similar to here? Or are the people much more spread out? Outside of London, that is, in the countryside, is it pretty, would you say the state is a much lower population density than most, because it's...
Yeah. I don't know the stats of like people per kilometer, but we have some big cities. Like London's kind of a mega city, like in New York or in LA, right? Maybe it's not as big as New York as LA. And then Birmingham, I think, is now the second biggest city, then Manchester. But then outside of that, cities have to meet a certain population and have a cathedral to be a city. And then towns,
they have to have a cathedral to be a city.
That's still the rule. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I know.
Dang, you were just comparing it to New York real quick. That sparked a thought in my head. Like when you go to London, it's mostly Europeans in the city.
It was until we were part of the European Union, but I don't know. London is the most diverse city that I know of in Great Britain.
Compared to New York, you've got people from, everywhere. It's a melting pot of people from every different kind of place in the world, kind of, right? Yeah. Every language. Are they mostly Americans, do you think, in New York?
No, I don't.
I think they're a diverse culture.
Good time in New York City, but I think London, New York City, the diversity, definitely, there's a huge influence of Europe there, but we also have a huge influence from like India and Pakistan because it used to be a former British colony. So a lot of Pakistani and Indian natives settled in England through I guess there was an agreement with when they declared their own independence. So, Indian food is like my favorite food back home. That was one of the things I remember growing up is like...
Dude, I never knew that.
We had, English...
We never eat Indian food. You make lasagna and burger tacos.
I went to a British pub today and had
this
some
dude made
curry.
Burger tacos one time. He invited me over for burgers and they were like tacos with burger patties in them. And I'll never understand
Did
that.
you eat it? Was it delightful?
It was amazing. It was amazing.
No, Indian food is a huge cuisine in England, and we'd go down to the pub or the Indian restaurant with our friends and have who can handle the hottest curry.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a terrible time. The next day.
It's delicious.
For sure the next day, not having fun.
No, it was good stuff.
Let me ask you a question, man. Do you ever think about how you got here, like to San Diego, and how we connected and how all this could have come together? Not just us, but just people in general.
Yeah.
Do you ever try to reverse engineer that and make logic of it?
Well, I feel like my brain has a good idea of all the pieces and connecting the dots, but I think the why I'm here was more of a personal journey of wanting to explore. And I feel like once I've been in a place for a certain amount of time and I've felt like there's growth there's been many times in my life where I've known that I'm ready to move on. And
from a place or out of a relationship or
like moving from those 12 nearly 13 years in Portland, Oregon, there was something driving me to say, well, do I want the idea of working hard my whole life and retiring by the beach and surfing during retirement sounds great, but why don't I do it now? And I can do it now.
Wait, you're retired? Yeah, you are kind of retired.
I teach like 3 days a week. But I feel like I've been working hard to make things more efficient within my life, and I know you
oh my god,
you care
I'm a
about
witness, dude.
You care about efficiency.
You are such a special person, dude. Yeah, I make efficiency so I can do more stuff apparently, and you make efficiency so you can do less stuff.
Well, it's not less stuff, it's more time of leisure.
Yeah, right? Let me put it this way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just call us out as the critical differences in the way that we grew up. Maybe it's because you're European and I'm a working like farm boy from Texas that grew up in the bayou. But what I can definitely say is that you definitely pull efficiencies into processes for your whole life equation so you can free up as much time as you can to go play.
Yeah.
And I do that so I can do more stuff. Like I figure out how I can make more time so I can do more work.
Yeah.
And I am really trying to brain hack myself to be more like Stuart.
You've mentioned this a few times recently, and it's the first time you've mentioned it.
God.
Well, we were the champions, particularly my mum and sister and I. We're known as good sleepers. Like Tom Barnes and his wife Laura would always ask me, like,
you got a good conscience.
They'd always make fun of like how much we slept, and I'm like, do you know how important good sleep is? You know,
it really is.
But I definitely worked hard enough, in my own humble opinion,
to
earn it. Provide. I don't know if to provide. I haven't earned a comfy chair yet. I don't want a chair where I can just kick my feet up and like that.
No, you've earned the flexibility to do what you want in free time though, which is not an idle moment. Well, I'm not talking about kicking back in a chair. You're not idle ever. How did all this come together? How did we get here? You know, should we just stop thinking about it and enjoy the wave, man? Just ride the wave.
Trying, but am I escaping all the other important stuff I need to take care of? Like there can be, like if I'm surfing too much, I might be neglecting something else in my life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's some schoolwork or paperwork or something else I need to do. But the way I see it, a huge difference in the culture in England and partly in the area of France I lived in compared to my time in New York, Portland, and now here in California, San Diego, is the speed of life, the fast pace, right? It was never for me. Like Europe is a lot slower in that way where, you know, a lot of places shut it down for lunch. People walk a little bit slower. They're not as rushed to get, you know, time is money in America more than anywhere else I've witnessed. And that's not of great value to me. There's an elderly gentleman, Laurie Meltzer, husband to Karen Meltzer, one of the owners and directors of Brant Lake, is Karen, and her husband Laurie told me, you know, in his 70s, I think at the time, he was like, there's two types of jobs. There's the job that you really enjoy doing, you're really passionate, you love doing it. It might not pay you great, but you just love driving to work every day and you can't wait to get there. I feel like that's the job I have when I'm driving to school. I'm like, what is the cool stuff we can do with the students today? And I can't wait to show them this because they're going to be so excited.
You do have such an amazing job, man.
Or we have the job. The caveat to that was the job that Laurie knows that he was in New York City, where he had the commute, he had the busy rush pace, but he had a paycheck that could provide him with maybe a nicer retirement at the end of the day, a couple of weeks vacation here or there. Like, I think of every weekend as a vacation. I think of every evening as like, I think the idea of what I used to think a weekend was. So I do try and slow it down. I do, you know more than most people. I love to have people over for dinner.
Bro, you are an experienced guy. You definitely enjoy taking time to embrace the moment and making time to create moments and experiences to be embraced. And it's a really, really beautiful thing about you. And I think that myself and my significant other and your significant other and our family that we have here and our families outside of that family that we have, that tribe we have and connect with, appreciate that you keep that integrity of what it means to embrace those experiences and to make time with each other. That's one of my favorite things about you, is your commitment to do that and continue to offer it. So don't please stop doing that.
There'll always be an invite. And I know you always appreciate the invite.
I do, and I can't always make it because I'm out there zooming around trying to do my shit.
Yeah. An invitation goes a long way. And
it does, bro.
You know, there's I noticed some students at school that like their time to themselves, and they kind of remove themselves away from the rest of their class sometimes because they either need that space, whether they know how to communicate that or not. But I always let the other students know, the other students that just are kind of like a golden retriever and just like happy and, you know, very social and chatty most of the time to anyone. Just let, you know, the students know that an invitation goes a long way. So if Logan's off in the corner kind of doing his thing, I'm like, hey, Logan, do you want to come play this game with us? He might say no because he wants that space and he's like, no, I'm good. But we don't take that personally, but don't stop inviting someone just because they said no a couple times.
No doubt.
You know, just creating a space where people feel like that they belong, that they matter, they make a difference.
I think that's a quality or a principle that drives you, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
I've never heard you say it quite like that until now. And it definitely makes a lot of things make sense all of a sudden.
I knew this piece about myself after I didn't go to many weddings growing up. But now if I go to a friend's wedding, I always want to go and talk to the
last wedding I went to with you, you made the bride cry.
I did? Oh, was that Andrew and Nicole?
Well, the last wedding that I went to you with.
That wasn't my fault. That was Andrew's fault.
You were the spawn of making the bride cry.
I don't know if I ever was, if Nicole ever fully forgave Andrew for that or not. That wasn't my fault. That was Andrew.
That was definitely your fault.
People don't know what we're talking about. But, well, I'm sure many people have heard the tradition of at the wedding when you cut the cake that you kind of, you switch with your partner, like you feed your partner and your partner feeds you.
It's very romantic.
And like when I was married, my partner pushed a little bit of cake into my face. It was kind of funny and cute. And I did the same thing. And there's pictures of it. No harm, no foul from my experience. So when it came to cake cutting, I was like, hey, Andrew, you kind of like, you do this and you kind of just push a little bit into that face. Well, Nicole it's a big day, right? There's a lot of it. And Nicole's like one of the funniest, most capable human beings I've ever met.
She's incredible.
And
love you, Nicole.
Yeah. And,
love you, Andrew. Love you guys.
And so we were going over to watch the cake cutting, and Andrew being Andrew, right, it was just like smushed a little bit in her face. And she handled it in the way she felt at the time,
Smushed
which was
a little bit in her face.
I don't know whether she was it was a little bit. I don't know whether she was overwhelmed or Nicole's like a beautiful lady that rarely ever wears makeup.
Oh, totally.
But had spent a lot of time prepping that day on her wedding day.
I've seen her wear makeup.
And Andrew
for that day
pushed a bit of cake in his face. I'm like looking at Andrew like, dude, I wouldn't have done that if I was you.
And you were the one that told him to do it.
And Andrew's just looking at me, staring at me like, bro. And I'm like,
Stuart's famous.
I didn't do it.
Stuart is famous for giving people advice to do shit and having it go tragically south. Straight up, dude.
Well, I wouldn't have pushed it that hard or that much. But anyway.
All right, dude. It's good chatting with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. Any advice you would be able to give people right now? In this space and time.
Two things that I've kind of dug into a little bit recently that was recommended to me by some friends. There's a book named Breath by James Nestor, knowing how to
I started listening to it.
Take in a full inhale through the nose and a full exhale to take out all that toxic air that if we're just shallow chest breathing. And
let's all do it together right now. Because I got to deviate it, right? But let's do it.
And that sound, that shushing sound really calms the nervous system down until you can't do it anymore, until everything's out. And then
I do that during my chiropractic sessions. Oh my God, dude, my chiropractic sessions are off the
And does that involve, are they working with some breathing with you during the work?
I breathe into the adjustments and the alignment.
Yeah, exactly.
We breathe into the alignment. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
We take the time. Origin, chiropractic, right here in Oceanside.
And then the other one,
holy cow, I love them.
The other one I just started listening to, it's on a book and there's also a podcast, is Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep and the Importance of Sleep. So
you lazy motherfucker.
No, I'm just justifying why I sleep so much. But
exactly.
This guy's a neuroscientist that knows his stuff. He was actually just on one of my favorite podcasts, the Rich Roll podcast.
I love the Rich Roll podcast too.
Yeah.
What one phrase, tell me about sleep. Why is it important? The number one.
Well, I'm still listening to the book, but most of us don't sleep enough. And that's how we break down all the toxins in the brain that build up during the day, to go through the different stages of rapid eye movement sleep and non-REM sleep. We know what it feels like to have a good night's sleep. But most of us, I guess the analogy he was talking about was if we have friends that have been drinking and they're talking about driving, and they've had 5 or 6 drinks, would say, nah, dude, don't drive. You're impaired. You've had 6 or 7 drinks. Take an Uber, walk home. I'll give you a ride, whatever. But it's the same kind of response. That person's confident, right? They've had drinks like, nah, I'm good. I can drive. But it's the same kind of response we're seeing with people with sleep. Like, oh, I can handle 5-6 hours of sleep. I operate well off of that. Well, they might be feeling like they operate, like they can drive a car when they're drunk. But over time, there's serious health consequences that build up and build up and build up to that point where they're mentally and emotionally beside themselves because there's so much stress build up from not breaking down the toxins in the brain. And it's going to take maybe months or maybe even years to get back to what was good sleep that maybe we remember once when we were kids.
Yeah.
So
detoxifying the brain is an important thing, obviously. And a natural process exists for that exact need of the body and the mind, which can be achieved through the most delightful thing that we've ever experienced called sleep.
Well, you think of it,
which is zing, and I suck at it bad.
Well, think of it in concrete ways. If sleep was not important, don't need sleep, I'm good, we would have evolved over the thousands and millions of years to be awake for 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's not happening.
But why does nearly all mammals and birds need to sleep and rest? I think it's more important than we fully understand. But time is money, and if you can work for an extra hour,
not only time is money, but don't you want to get that wave, man?
Yeah.
That's what I'm after, dude. Time is not money. You break it down like that a lot, and I'm no disrespect, my dude, but that's the experience, bro.
That's what
I want to be awake. I want to be awake. Well, let me tell you what you're hearing right now.
Yeah.
I want to be awake.
Yeah.
For this gig.
Yeah.
I want to be awake for this gig, and when I wake up, I try to go back to sleep, and I'll just lay there and lay there and lay there, bro.
Yeah.
Because my mind is on. Because I want to be awake.
Yeah.
And I want to do things. Why? For all the reasons that you just explained. How much did you grow? How much did you learn at Brant Lake? How much did you learn in the Alps? How much did you learn in school and swim team and those coaches and all the thousands of kids that you can probably recall in your mind and the intricate details of that intimate moment with these people?
Yeah.
How much did you grow? Yeah. You can't do that when you're sleeping. And so that's what drives me, bro. Crazy as it sounds.
But I feel like I can be more connected and conscious and restful and peaceful with that sleep. Like I kind of emphasize the impact that your wokeness or awakeness would feel like if you're sleeping well.
Yeah. So breathe. Day. So Stuart Champion, my favorite human. To spend time with, to talk with, to surf with. You're my dude. Appreciate you coming out and chatting with me. We'll do it again soon for sure.
Thanks for inviting me back.
Breathe.
Sleep.
Breathe, people. Breathe. And get some sleep.
Thanks, Logan.
Man, thank you, Stuart. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
We're gonna get all freaky here. We're gonna get all freaky here. We're gonna get all freaky here. Join us on the deck here in Freaky Town, USA.
just south of downtown Oceanside, CA. Stick around for a little while and meet the locals, yeah. They're a good old crew that's been around a while, yeah.